Okay, so now we're going to try something pretty challenging, but also really important. So please try to pay attention. And if you get stuck or if something's not working, probably the best bet is just to clear it all out and start over, because sometimes it's hard to understand what to click and when to click once it stops working. So take your time and try to follow along. What we want to do today is talk about relative dimensions. In other words, currently we have a hole and we have a cube. But do we know how far this hole is from this side? Well, we can control that. We can make a dimension that says put this edge of that hole an exact amount of distance away from that side. And so we can place different sketches precisely on the drawing. So what you're going to do today is to make a rectangle that's 1/4 inch, a square that's 1/4 inch on each side, and then also to make that square 1/4 inch from this side and 1/4 inch from that side, and then do the same thing with the other 3 corners. So let's give it a try. We're going to first escape because I don't want that highlighted yet. We're going to click on sketch. Then we're going to be sketching on the cube. So I click on the cube and we are going to make a corner rectangle. Click on it. Bring your cursor down to the cube. Click, drag, don't worry about how big it is right now, and click again. So you may recall that in order to give this rectangle an exact size, we can go up to the dimension tool. Click on the dimension tool. Click on the side that I want to give a dimension to. And as I said earlier, we want that to be 0.25. So I click on the numbers and say 0.25. Enter. Then I want this to be a square, so I'm going to dimension this side 0.25 as well. 0.25. Now we have a square with sides of 0.25 inches. But what about determining where this square is on the cube? We want this square to be exactly 1/4 inch from this side and exactly 1/4 inch from this side. So it's pretty easy. We're already in the dimension tool. If I click on this side and then click on the side that I want to determine the distance from, click again. I'm going to drag this down so I can see it, or drag it up so I can see it. Click, it's highlighted, 0.25. Hit enter and watch what happens. It moves it so that that square is now placed exactly where you want. Let's try it for the other side. Click on that side. Click on the side we want to tell it how far to be from. Then drag where we can see. Click 0.25. Enter. This can be a little bit tricky because sometimes the dimension tool will grab onto things that we didn't mean for it to grab onto. And like I said, the best thing to do is just go back and start over, and not try to deal with that too much, at least if you get confused. But for example, if I clicked on this side, went up to, see that line? That's not even a part of the square. That's a part of the overall face. And it's we could dimension to that line. But then it would stop us from creating some other dimensions, and you might not be able to figure out why it won't let you make those other dimensions. So I'm going to do this right now and say 0.5, enter. And notice it gave us a lot of mistakes because that's impossible to make it 0.5 inches from this line and also 0.25 inches from that line. So it doesn't like that. So there's a couple things you can do. We could go up here and say go back, undo. But if I click on a dimension that I want to get rid of, usually I can just hit the delete button and it goes away. So that's another option if you have a dimension that seems to be getting in the way. So what I would like you to do is place similar squares on all 4 corners. And so we're going to accept this. And then I want you to extrude and put holes in all 3. Click on it. Remember, remove. Remember, instead of blind, through all. Click. And now we have a square that cuts a hole all the way through our cube, and it's 0.25 inches on each side, and it's also 0.25 inches from these 2 sides of the cube. Let's just take a look at that. You can see it goes all the way through. So see if you can put squares here, here, and here. 0.25 inches on each side and 0.25 inches from the sides. If you can do this, you're doing well. This is not, there are a few chances for errors. And if you get stuck, just go back and start over. It really doesn't take too long once you get the hang of it.